All right. Roger.
Hey, Liz.
Hey, Roger. Hey, Mark. Hey, Michael. Hey, Jane. Hey, Dave.
Hey,
Hey, John Boy.
So
Hey, Jim Bob.
I know Jesse won't be here. Have you heard from anybody else, Liz?
Brian is not going to be with us. I have not heard from Pat.
Okay.
So, but there are 4 of us, so we do have a quorum. If there's anything anybody's going to need to recuse themselves about, please let me know now. I can reach out to Brian. He will join us if needed. Didn't see anything that raised any
Okay.
red flags for me.
Well,
There's a couple people that are either going to be logging in late or not at all. So if I know for sure they're not going to show up, I'll just say, let's pass and go to the next one.
Sounds good, Jane. Thank you.
Yep.
We'll try to make it move as fast as we can for folks.
15 things on the agenda. I think that's the longest agenda I've seen in 4 years.
is
all right.
Hey, David.
Hi, David.
Mark, are you there? Yeah,
I'm here.
good. Um, who,
Hello,
Oh,
Caitlin Myasek here.
hello.
Hi.
is Pat here?
No.
not
No,
yet.
Pat didn't respond. Oh, maybe Pat, are
Oh,
you
is that
in that box? Is that Pat?
Yes, it is.
Oh, yay.
Okay.
I didn't see you until I said you didn't respond.
Oh,
Fantastic.
Well, let me start my video.
Please. Oh, now I can't miss ya.
Well, now.
Yeah, there you
Just a little
go.
better.
So we have a quorum.
We do have a quorum. And even with 4 of us, we had a quorum, but it's good. I'm glad you're here too, Pat. Thank you.
Well, I just
So
barely got
I
here in
think,
time.
Pardon me?
I say I just barely got back to Cooperstown in time to do this,
Well, thank you for rushing
But I'm
back
here.
into
but
town.
I'm here.
If everybody's ready, Michael, are you in good shape?
Yep.
Okay, we'll call the meeting of the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board of the Village of Cooperstown to order at 5:02 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. The first item on the agenda is 37 Walnut Street. Amanda Wyckoff, are you able to tell us about your project, please?
Yes, I am here. So I am just hoping to get reconsidered. I had submitted an application hoping to be able to change roofing materials. And I acknowledge that the existing structure has an architectural asphalt shingle on it. It's a cottage style kit house. That unfortunately the original kit was not very well constructed. There's almost no overhang and no eaves on the particular house. Over the years, we have struggled greatly because of the way the construction comes together, especially at the sidewall to where the roof connects. Essentially, the trusses end directly on top of the side of the house, which has had us struggling with ice damming problems. There's essentially nowhere to vent anything really, which was an original design flaw on the particular property. So I'm basically asking permission to try to do metal to allow snow buildup to be able to actually shed off the roof to help mitigate this problem. Everything else that we've done has not worked for this particular property. So I just wanted to make sure that that was out there. I know that you did talk about it a little bit at the last meeting. I apologize. I wasn't there, but I just was hoping it could be reconsidered.
Does anybody have any questions for Amanda? Amanda, in the proposed roof replacement, you talk about ice damming, and I understand the material might help with that situation. Is the goal to, like you said, there's very little overhang. Is the goal to extend the overhang more, or just hope that the material is going to help this to shed?
Well, if I were to go into extending the overhang, I would have to build out the roof, which would then adjust the facade. And so then you're going to end up with almost, you're going to lose all your spacing above the head of your windows to be able to build all of that out. That is a consideration to try to help and get some circulation through there. But I think that the material change would actually sort of do the same thing without having to make such drastic alterations to, the face of the building and the actual roof line. So that's why I'm asking for the material change.
I see you noted in something you submitted that 37, or excuse me, another address on Walnut Street.
Yeah, so actually 44 Walnut Street and 26 Walnut Street both have metal roofs. The school, I know it's not a residential building, but that has a metal roof on it, all within sight of this property. And there was one case of a property that they did build out their soffit further down the street that was approved, but that was 11 Walnut Street.
Do you have a picture of the other property, Jane? Thank you for showing us that one.
No, I only have the one.
Okay.
What's the other address?
44 Walnut Street.
Hold on.
Sorry, I pulled it up off the GIS map. There's on the property card, it shows it.
Let me see if I can find a street view of it.
Google Street View doesn't go on Walnut Street.
I know it's going to have to be Bing.
Yeah, I did that too.
Dave, do you have any questions for Amanda?
Yeah, I had
Okay,
question.
Roger.
Okay, good. Yeah, Amanda, Roger Brown here. I really sympathize with your problem. It would make, you're going to go to considerable expense, I would assume, to put on the metal roof. What would give me a lot of reassurance, have you had this issue looked at by some architects and or engineers? If so, have you had that done? Rather than
Well, I have had many construction people look at it, and my background is actually in construction. So I can have an engineer look at it, but I'm not sure to what end, what information
No, it
you're
would just,
looking for.
it would give me some reassurance because your home happens to be in a rather prominent place on Walnut Street, and whatever you put on the roof will be very obvious. And it would make me feel a lot better if you had this whole issue addressed by either an architect or architects and or an engineer or both, rather than just construction people. Not that I want to say that they're not.
Yeah, so I have not specifically had an architect look at it.
Do you understand where
I'm
I'm
not a
coming-
licensed architect, but I actually have an architecture degree. So I understand how roofs vent and I understand framing. And right now there is no way to vent the roof to get circulation through the end of it because there is no overhang. Insulation has been increased, but the problem is you have framing that lands directly on the wall structure. So there's no way to get the additional ventilation that you need at that end of the roof.
Roger, let me address that.
Oh, good, David. I was hoping you would because I'm a retired surgeon and you've lost me. So go ahead.
Amanda, I've studied architecture also, and I've been in the building trade for about 40 years. Anyway, the problem is you have no soffit, obviously, so you can't get through ventilation to a ridge vent.
Right. You can only do it at the gable ends.
Right. And that doesn't help where it meets your stud walls.
Correct.
So I sympathize with you also, and I think this is an extending or accentuating circumstance that a metal roof would probably solve the problem, or metal skirting on the edge.
That's what I was gonna suggest, Dave.
I mean, one or the other to get rid of the ice.
And have you explored the metal skirting, that having the first few feet roofed in metal as opposed to the whole roof?
That is an option. Yes, my only concern of that is the transition between the metal to the asphalt. I just would hope that that would do enough for it to be able to address the problem.
I'm not from here, but it seems to me that I see that technique used, including on my house, all the time in this particular area.
Yes, people do it a lot specifically because of ice and water problems.
And ice damming. So it would seem to me that if you were able to do that, you would maintain the integrity of the original roof, but you'd also have added a section to deal specifically with your problem. Would that be satisfactory for you?
I would prefer to do the whole roof so there isn't a transition, but if, you know.
Yeah, I understand your problem. I had a problem at my office at 19 Main Street, and we put the panels on, but then subsequently we heated the panels because the panels were still causing ice problems at the transition.
How did you heat them, Dave?
We attached the heating elements to it. We had a company come in and they did it for us.
Is it exterior or interior? Is it visible from the exterior?
The heat?
Yeah.
No, it was actually, the panels themselves were attached to the heating elements.
Oh, okay.
And it was a pretty tricky thing, and we had to, we had to be conscious of what we were doing.
Right. Yep. You don't want to catch anything on fire.
Yeah, we don't want to burn the place down,
Yeah.
especially in a
No.
historic building like that.
And there are also the exterior heat tapes that are used for similar ice damming issues too. I think the reason we're really kind of walking in circles around this is because we understand your challenge, but the roof you're proposing is going to dramatically change the character of the structure. And that's why we're trying to find a less dramatic help you find a less dramatic solution. That's the concern. It's not a very big building. This change in roof materials, especially the way it's positioned, is going to have a very big visual impact from the street. Certainly, because of its little cottage style, comparing it to the other structure on the street that you pointed out, it is a much different impact. And just because it is on that structure does not mean that it works well on that structure either. I remember when that structure was done, it certainly did not have the integrity your home has. And so it was quite a bit easier to, I was not on the board. I'm not sure the Historic Preservation Board existed at that point. But that building was in very dire shape when the rehab was done on that. Can you explore, we're just going into roofing season, so hopefully, I did not look at the condition of your roof specifically, but hopefully there's a little time before it has to be replaced. Can you explore the use of the metal panels that might be a really good compromise? Talk to people about their experiences, and some roofers who have good records installing them, about their experience, and people whose homes have them and what their experience has been with them. Are you willing to do that and come back and talk to us again next month?
Yes, I can look at the edging, the transition at the edge, and see what feedback I can get on that. I don't feel comfortable doing the heated system.
I understand that.
Only because, this last year we used the house a lot ourselves, but now we do have tenants there now, long-term tenants. So I just don't feel comfortable having that running in a house where I'm not there every single day.
I get that. But
I'm certainly happy to look at the edging as a possibility and come back and have another conversation.
I think we would appreciate that, Amanda. We'd like to try to find a way to maintain the character of this very, very sweet house. And I think that the metal roof will have a pretty dramatic impact on it. So if we can find some alternatives that work for you, that would be great.
Yeah, I understand. I also just would say that, I do come from a family of very talented construction folks, and they do things very well. So I would just put that out there. They do quality work, and they are very good at detailing. So I would say that as well.
I have no doubt. I think just the volume of the metal material on your small cottages, I think the impact, not the quality of the work. But so if you can look into that and come back and let us know kind of if that's something we're able to discuss with you, that would be great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for working with us.
Thank you.
Amanda, I really appreciate your problem, and I appreciate your willingness to work with us.
Thank you.
And it sounds like a terrible problem. And
well,
we solved it. I think we've solved it in this old house that I live in, where the copper, the edging is got a flashing about 2 feet of copper all the way around, and then the rest of it's asphalt. And that seemed to work quite well.
Good.
Could I ask Dave a question? And that was, when the metal edge skirting failed on your building before you put the electrical current to it, when you say it failed, the snow just sat there?
Excuse me?
Did the snow just sit on before you wired it up? Did the snow just sit on the metal flashing and not go anywhere?
Yeah, well, the ice would build up on the gutter system, and then it would back up enough when we got a lot of snow, so that we would start to get leaks.
Thank you.
And that's an interesting building too, because that's a stone building. And the ventilation there must have been a challenge also, right?
Well, there was no way we could ventilate the soffits
Yeah,
because it sat right on the stone.
yeah. Yeah, I know we're asking you to do a little more work, Amanda, but if you
That's
could work
okay.
with us a tiny bit more, we'd appreciate it.
Yep, I'll look into it.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Take care.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, 19 River Street, Emily DeSantis. Hi, Emily.
Hello. Hi,
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, thanks. Would you like to tell us about your project?
Sure. Along the south side of my house is an exposed concrete block foundation. And also extending further east is a retaining wall that extends off that east, southeast corner of the house that is essentially wood and it's rotted. And I'm looking to replace that wood that extends about 20 feet up to 25 feet along the same footprint of the existing wood retaining wall, replace it with a stone foundation or a stone wall, and then extend that same stone, but use just a veneer of it, of the real stone, and extend that to cover the exposed foundation of the house itself along that Main Street side, which does not look historical currently at all. And actually, my hope would be that it would look more uniform in general with other houses in the area, but I think it might look just aesthetically be more pleasing. And the wall itself will be more functional. Currently, it's rotting enough where I'm not able to replace or screw in some of the, I don't know if you could see, but one of the panels of fencing that sits on top of that wall. Yeah, there you go. Right off to the left there, fell down last year and we weren't able to repair it just because everything you screw into is rotted. So that's what I'd like to do.
And you gave us a sample of an existing wall as an example of the type of stone you'd like to use?
Yeah, that is the aesthetic that I'm going for. And the company or Mark from Blue Maple Masonry would be doing the work, and his work can be seen. He's working at, I believe it's 46 Lake Street, if I got the property number correct. He's also did the
That's quite a lot of work.
Yes, and he's also working at 13 River as well on their stonework. It's a different style than what you see in front of you. But the idea would be appear as a dry stacked wall from the outside, but it would be held in the middle with concrete and rebar. So it will have a thickness to it, but I don't know if you could see from the top. I don't know if I sent you. Yeah, there you go. There's, already at least a couple feet right there, 3 feet maybe of a thickness. So I think the footprint's going to be very similar.
Anybody have any questions for Emily?
When you replace the wooden wall, what sort of dead men do you use to go into the bank behind it to keep the wall from being pressured out by simply the weight of the ground above it?
Right. I don't have the answer to that. My understanding is the inside of the wall is the inside of the wall would be concrete and rebar. It would just look, on the aesthetics on the outside, it would look more dry stacked. And there is, talking to the mason, there was a difference between, if you're going to build something that's higher than 5 or 6 feet versus in that 4 to 5 foot area, how much internal construction you would need. But I don't have a sense of rebar being needed in this type of project that, or dead men getting, going back into the ground. But to be honest, I don't have the answer, and I can certainly find that out.
Well, I mean, it seems like a very attractive solution to your existing problem, but I'd be concerned about the weight of the slope pushing your new wall down, in which case it'll just fracture and you'll have no wall.
Oh, sure. So the whole point of it is that it is a retaining wall. I agree. And that my understanding is placing not just building a stone wall and that has, I don't know what a standard diameter is, but having this center foundation within the wall itself, with solid concrete and rebar is supposed to be what is retaining the structure, and rather than relying chiefly on the stone itself.
Yeah,
So
Pat, I'm going to jump in here. Blue Maple Masonry is an outstanding firm, and the proprietor, I know the owner. He's done some work at Christ Church as well, and he'll be thorough. Emily he'll take care of any problems that before they arise. He's a well-respected contractor, masonry, and I'm sure that'll not be a problem. I think Emily's got the right man to do the job.
That sounds good to me, Roger.
Yeah.
I mean, because he would advise her as to whatever.
Oh, yeah, he'll tell, yeah.
But you're basically building a concrete retaining wall and finishing it with the stone you showed us.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I assume that the plans need to be reviewed by the code office before they proceed.
I would
They're
assume
building a
so too,
retaining
but-
wall.
Well, it's already existing, right? So
No, you're
if this is a
replacing it.
material change.
You're replacing it totally with a concrete retaining wall, so it'd have to be approved. It'd have to be engineered properly, or else it's not going to work.
So that's a question for your mason as well. I mean, we are concerned about the material change and the aesthetic, and I don't think any of us have a concern about what you're proposing as much as that it's structurally sound for your sake.
Yeah, of course, which is the primary goal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we're just concerned with the facing anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
And Emily, you mentioned that part of that lattice kind of privacy fencing fell down last year and couldn't be re-anchored. Is your plan to return some privacy fencing, some wooden privacy fencing to the top of that? Or are you planning any screening or anything?
Yeah, I am planning, although I don't have a picture well defining that. I do like the aesthetic of what I did attach at 20 Ferris Street, where there's a wood paneling above. But I'm not wedded to, I would like to also put greenery in front of it as well. I think, so yes is the answer to that. I do want some privacy screening. So you are correct. It would not be just the stone wall in the current configuration. It would be a stone wall replacing the wood only, and then some other type of screening above that may be very similar to, just because I really like the aesthetics, very similar to what I see at 20 Fair Street, but I would also be planning landscaping in front of it for added screening.
When you do know kind of the configuration would finally like,
Mhm.
we'd ask that you come to us for technically a field change, but
Mhm.
for a review. As you have some more specificity with that, whether it's pictures of 20 Ferris Street and shows how you're going to replicate it, or a drawing that shows us how you might change it. And also, because you've given us an example of an existing wall, when you do kind of, if there's a specific detail on the product he's going to be using, I know they all have different, normally it's some kind of,
Oh, yes.
it's something related to an area the stone's from or whatever. But if you could give us the detail on which stone he will be installing,
Okay.
that'd be great.
Yes, which stone type?
So Emily, this was the fence you were referring to, right?
That I
This is-
like, yes, but
Okay.
that, yes. My concern is just like with the oh, sorry, am I muted? I apologize.
No, we can hear you.
Okay. My concern has always been if I'm replacing material like the wood that's rotted, I'd rather not replace it with something else that gets rotted just quickly. But I know there are other considerations, again, materials, and that may or may not be approved. So I want to make sure that, obviously I would have to get approval for that, but
So you're talking about maybe using a composite material or something like that. It's not out of the question in high moisture kind of areas where there might be rot, especially if it's paintable. So once you talk to your contractor about some options and ideas, you can certainly come to us.
Okay.
The product here.
So you wouldn't be opposed, you're not granting permission, I understand that, but you're
Right.
not opposed to a composite, potentially a composite type of material to act as an added barrier on top of the stone wall.
Right, no.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions or comments for Emily?
Just a comment and follow up on what David had to say. It may be pertinent to have the Blue Maple owner come and present his side of the story
Okay.
rather than let Emily do it. It would be helpful to me to hear him talk about the engineering problems that he's going to hopefully avoid.
Yes, that's fine. I certainly am sure that he told me about all these details at some point when we spoke about it a year ago. So I wanted to get him, I wanted to get on his list, his project list. But unfortunately, some of the details I can't recall. So
Yeah, well, I think he should come help us
Okay.
out. I spoke with the man yesterday. He said he's so busy, he's got like almost 2 years of work ahead of him. So what you say is quite true.
Yeah.
You have to line them up months ahead of time.
yeah. Great. Okay.
Does
Okay.
anybody, with the understanding that Emily's going to investigate with her contractor all the structural issues, code and permitting issues, does anybody want to make a motion at this point?
Or I can make a motion
Thank you, Mark.
regarding work to be done at 19 River Street, specifically construction of a replacement of a retaining wall and refacing the foundation wall. The Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board has made the following findings. No public hearing required, requirements secra met. The structure is not listed. Proposed changes in keeping with the criteria under section 326E 2B, 3C, 3D. Now therefore be it resolved.
We have a second?
Did you want to put a condition in there about coming back for the materials or the design of the upper area?
Thank you, Michael, for,
Yeah, I'd say in coming back with field change for screening fence to be put on top of the wall.
Mhm.
great.
Absolutely.
Would anybody like to second that?
I'll second that.
I'll second it.
Who seconded?
I
Well,
think
David.
David,
Well
Roger.
seconded.
David?
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Liz votes yes. Michael?
Okay.
Mark, yes.
David, yes.
Roger, yes.
Pat, would you like to join us?
Pat, is he gone?
Pat?
Pat, do you want to vote?
Pat, yes. I
Thank
don't have
you.
a vote.
Tonight,
Yes,
can
you
vote
do.
tonight.
it's only five.
But Emily's gonna come back with the mason and tell us the stories, tell us the details.
When
She
when
doesn't
they have
have to.
details. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I'm certainly happy to do so. But thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. We will see you when you have some specifics on the fence, et cetera. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, next on the agenda is 77 Beaver Street, and I'm assuming, Kevin, you're here representing 77 Beaver?
Correct.
Would you like to tell us about the project?
So we took the porch that was falling off the back out and are replacing it with a stone stoop that's going to lead to the back door. And it's going to have steps coming down on both sides for ease of access into the house from the driveway, and it won't take up the whole backyard, turning them the other way. So.
And then based on the CAD drawing you've given us is
Okay.
representative of what you'd like to do?
Correct.
So
So
give us a little sense of that.
Yeah, so that was so this is a similar, I'm not sure why we chose that picture, but that's a similar, so that's
well, he
almost.
sent a couple of them, so
Yeah, okay, there we go. That's pretty much the exact same kind of stoop that we're gonna be doing on 77. It's gonna be, I think we've got, I think it's 4 steps going up. But that's,
Stone facing,
yep,
Okay, yeah, not a problem.
okay. And
Yeah,
then
Blake's pretty high anyway.
metal railing,
yes. Yeah, we're gonna do like a wrought iron railing. Same type of thing that we did on the Chamber of Commerce.
and in the drawing, there's a bit of a kind of
Let me know.
curvy treatment
Let
to
us
the
zoom in.
layout of the stone.
The patio, the paver
Yeah.
patio is that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that I mean, that's got, I mean, the stoop is obviously gonna be separate from that, but yes.
Mhm. And it'll include the fire pit?
Yeah, not it's just gonna be like a portable kind of movable fire pit.
Oh, so it's not an install?
We're not doing a
fire
built-in fire pit, no.
feature. Okay. Now, there are some fences on the drawings you submitted. Are you installing fences as
you've
well?
already
we
approved
were-
all the fences.
Yeah.
Okay, Okay,
Yeah. And when we've installed, well, we installed the entire, what side would that be? The east or west? No, east side. So like along that, yes, right
okay.
there.
So no new installation of fences.
Because you gave approval for the fences the beginning, earlier this year, or the end of last year.
I think it was last fall.
You know, my memory isn't that good, Jane.
Yeah.
So
All right. Does anybody have
that.
any question? Does anybody have any questions for Kevin?
Yeah, just screening around the propane tanks. What are materials there?
We didn't, I think, I'm not sure what he's gonna do yet, tell you the truth. I mean, there's nothing now. He had talked about even like, I don't know, putting like a smaller kind of shed type thing just to put like a push mower in and stuff in front of those propane tanks. But I don't think anything's been finalized yet. We've got, you know, just something drawn in there, I think, but I don't think that's anything that we're doing in this phase of the project anyway. I just don't know if he's got anything finalized for that yet.
Okay.
If something does get added to the project, or if he chooses to do that
Yeah.
outside the project, can you remind him that we need to discuss
Sure.
it as a field change? Thank you.
Yep.
Dave, did you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Pat, do you have any questions? Roger, do you have any questions?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion here?
Sure, I will. Whereas the Historic Preservation Architectural Review Board has made the following findings and facts concerning the proposed application at 77 Beaver Street. Public hearing was not necessary. Requirements of seeker have been met. The structure is listed as contributing. Therefore, section 300-E-26 of the application proposed is removal of 20 foot by 16 feet of rotten landing and replacement with a stone grade level patio. Further, the proposal calls for a 6 foot wide by 4 foot deep blue stone landing at the rear door with a 4 foot wide blue stair treads leading to either side of the landing with metal railings. And now therefore, section 300-26, 2A and B and C, 3A and B and C. Now therefore be it resolved, et cetera, so forth, on the 11th day of May, 2021. Determined the proposed work is appropriate and meets the criteria for the Historic and Architectural Control Overlay District as set forth in the zoning law of Cooperstown.
Anybody want to second that, please? Mark?
Yep,
Thank
I'll
you.
second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, Liz votes yay.
Mark, yes.
Roger, yes.
David, yes.
I see Matt, I think Pat's voting, but I think you're on mute, Pat.
Pat? Yay or nay, Pat?
I think that's a yay. Cool, thank you.
Where is he?
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you very
All right.
much, Kevin.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice night.
You too.
Yep, bye.
Bye-bye.
Do you
All
see
right.
Matt still there? Oh, there he is.
Yes, he's still there. He's muted. I'm not sure if you can unmute him or if he needs to unmute himself.
Unmute.
But he is still with us.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you, Pat. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the pop-up.
You're welcome. Did you vote yes?
Yes, he
I
voted
did
yes.
vote yes.
Okay.
Right, yeah, thank you. Okay, item number 4 on the agenda, 37 Delaware Street. Is Jesse with us?
I know Jesse couldn't make it. I know he said his wife was going to be here, but I'm not sure what her name is. Is that Mary?
It's Marissa.
Marissa, hi Marissa.
Okay.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Would you like to tell us about your project?
So I can tell you as much as I know, I guess. So I guess we want to we want to replace our windows we want to do it in 3 stages. We'd like to start with the upstairs. And that was project 1. And then, Gabby, please stop, honey. Sorry, I'm being attacked by children. And then he also wanted to put a porch off the back of the house. We had a porch on there before, like a covered porch, but he just wants to put on like an open porch. That's, I think he said like 8 inches off the ground and 15 and a half wide by 19 and a half long.
And the materials are going to be a pressure treated?
Yes.
Okay. And decking. Does anybody have any questions about the proposed deck for Marissa?
Seems straightforward to me.
Okay. And because it's only 17 inches high, it sounds like you're not going to have railings?
7 inches tall.
It's like
7 to 8 inches.
Yeah, no more than 8 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's a plan to have any railings on there.
And simple steps, then simple step when necessary?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about the window replacement.
I'm sorry. What was that question again?
Tell us about your plans for window replacement.
I don't really have a lot of detail regarding that. We did have the measure for the Marvin windows. We wanted to start with the upstairs. You know, and eventually we wanted, so start with the upstairs and then downstairs, and then we wanted to do the apartment off the side of the house, just so everything matches.
And the window, from what I see from the drawings, it's going to be a divided light, so it's going to have the vertical piece in the middle like your current windows do, correct?
Yes. Well, I'm sorry, I guess I don't understand the question.
Okay. I don't know if you can see the screen now. Do you see how each section of the window is divided in half vertically?
Yes.
I'm from the materials that were submitted, that looks like the windows will replicate that. I just wanted to confirm that.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any specific questions for Marissa?
I think it's just a straightforward window replacement in kind.
Okay. All right. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll do it.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
Okay, whereas Historic Preservation Architectural Review Board has made the following findings concerning 37 Delaware Street. It is listed, obviously, and according to section 300-26E, therefore be resolved, let's see, 2A, B, C, and 3A, and B, and C, D,
And this is for
and
approval.
5.
David, is this for approval of the windows and the deck?
Yes,
Yes.
the deck would be
2C.
Okay, 2A, B, C, 3A, C, D, and 5.
And 5,
Okay.
therefore, et cetera.
Would anybody like to second that?
I will. I'll second Roger.
Okay. Any discussion? Liz votes yay.
David, yes?
Roger, yes.
Pat?
Pat, yes.
Mark?
Mark?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Marissa, for your time tonight.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll move on to item number 5, 104 Pioneer Street. Caitlin,
Hi,
hi, would you like to tell
I'm
us
here.
what you'd like to do, Caitlin?
sure. So over the past few years since we've lived at 104 Pioneer Street, we've been doing some fencing. We started last year, or maybe it was a year and a half ago, with taking down a hedgerow in between us and the Herb and Mary Marks, who's on one side of us, and we replaced the hedgerow all down the back of the garden with a really pretty fence, and that was approved and is looking really nice. The project was kind of pricey, so my husband Ryan and I decided that we were going to wait to continue the fencing around the property. And so this year, basically, when we moved into the property, we have the Lynn and Kai bus on the other side of us, and our houses, I'm sure you know them, like pretty much almost touch each other. Basically, when we moved in, there was a beautiful apple tree sort of dividing the part of basically a shared backyard. There's a huge lilac bush that spans down to the back of the property, but there's a kind of a gaping opening where basically it just looks like one big backyard. I don't know if you can see from the pictures. Unfortunately, I'm not on my computer. I'm just dialing in right now, so I can't indicate what photos you're looking at, if any. But basically, what that apple tree was taken down right after we moved in because its integrity was it wasn't a good tree. It was dying and it got really big. And so the bus and I split the cost, took down the tree. And since that tree's been taken down, now we have sort of this area where when they're in their backyard, it's basically like you feel like they're in your backyard, and they feel the same with us. Very amicable, like get on great with the bus and everything like that. But I think ultimately we just want a little bit more privacy. So we proposed the bus, continuing the nice fence that we did between the Markses that runs all along the back of our property, and just putting a 5-foot fence in that one section where there's no lilac bush and there's no privet. So basically, to make it more neighborly, Williams Fence will be doing the project, and we decided we would put a gate in, just so we can leave the gate open and move back and forth with the bus, if we do want to chat with them, or if we want to share a lawnmower or whatever. So it's just a small section of fencing, basically to build sort of a barrier in between the two properties, so you get a little bit more privacy and a little bit more of a sense that you have your own backyard. So that's the project.
Thanks. Okay, so it's to match the existing fence on the other side. And
yeah, the only difference, I guess, is, sorry to interrupt, the only difference is we did come to an agreement. The one between the Marx's driveway and our driveway is 6 feet with the finial on top. And the one between us and the bus will be only 5 feet, just because there's a little bit of a rise, like our backyard, it's slightly lower, and then there's like a tiny little hill that rises up to the bus, and our property is on top, that little crest of that mini hill right there. And so if we put a 6-foot fence on there, we just both had the feeling, both families, we decided that would be very dwarfing in the backyard. So we decided on 5 feet would be, a better height. So that's the only difference. It's a foot smaller than the one in between the Marks in our house.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Otherwise, does anybody have any questions for Caitlin about the fence? Roger, you're okay?
I'm fine, yep.
Dave, you're okay?
Fine, yes.
Matt, you're good?
Looks good.
Mark?
Yep.
Okay, would anybody like to make a motion?
Yeah, I
Sure.
will. Whereas the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board has made the following findings of facts concerning the proposed application at 104 Pioneer Street. The proposal being namely a 5-foot tall fence with a gate in the middle along the north side of the property as submitted in the application. Whereas the section 300-26, the following principles were agreed to A, B, C, 3A, B, and C, and D. Now therefore be it resolved and so forth.
Second,
Okay. Did you second, Dave? Did I?
yes, I did.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Liz votes yay.
Mark, yes.
David,
Roger,
yes.
yes.
Pat, yes.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night.
Thank
You
you.
too. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, we'll move on to number 6 on the agenda, 28 Leatherstocking Street. Is Emily with us?
I don't see her here yet, and I know that number 7, they're still off for a little while, so let's move on to Susan, 30 Lake Street.
Okay, so we're gonna jump to number 8 on the agenda, 30 Lake Street. Hi, Susan, how are you?
Oh, here.
Michael, Susan, you're muted. I don't know if that's Michael control mute or a Susan
No, it's
mute.
not me, but I asked her to unmute. There you go.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. It was my problem. This is for the corner of Lake Street and Pioneer Street, the house on the corner.
Mhm.
It's currently like a 4-family house, and over in 2 phases of construction, the new owner wants to convert it back to single family. So there are extensive interior changes and some exterior changes. I've identified the way the phasing breaks down on the second sheet. And want to kind of have you review kind of the total project, because even though it'll be phased, the plan is to complete both phases. And so I want to make sure there's an understanding of the total end product. The first phase would include 2 pieces of fencing in the backyard, which are on the site plan drawing. It's a metal fence and also a railing, just to provide some safety at the kind of high retaining wall that's existing, and also a little barrier between this property and the Scurry's property. And there's one of the photos shows the kind of view to the back of the house, and you can see that. See the retaining wall. I think it's the bottom photo.
Oh, there it was.
Yep, that one. Thank you. So it's just a big drop. It's probably 3 or 3.5 foot of a drop there. So it's for safety. And the railing design is shown there. So those are the kind of landscape components. The components related to the building, starting on the front, are the front porch was, there's no drawing of the front because I had good photos of the front. Both there's a historic photo and then that one, right. At some point, the whole foundation of this house was redone so that it's now has a taller basement and it has a poured concrete foundation. And at that time, the front porch, at least the floor framing was redone. And probably at that time, if not sooner, it was changed. And there are like 2 relatively high risers going up to the porch deck, and then a very steep, about 11-inch step from the porch to the interior of the first floor. And if you look at the historic photo, there actually was an additional step there, and that's what we'd like to recreate because it's particularly at the threshold of the door, it's just much too high. So the plan is to rebuild the front porch, proportions of it, including the base and the columns, so that they are much more similar to the historic photo. Do you want to go, can you go?
Which one?
I've lost my picture somehow. Okay. And then on the rest of the building, the 3 existing exterior walls on the on Lake Street and the east side and the west side, the 2 gable ends, the only changes would be removal or replacement of all the windows, all in the exact same size and location. The existing windows are also already replacement windows, and they're probably 40-ish or so years old. They're kind of an early generation of insulated glass. There are a lot of seal failures. So in the context of the renovations, we'd like to replace all those with newer units, but with the same location and same 1/1 style. On the north wall, though, that faces the lake, we'd like to significantly expand the windows and the views to the lake. So you can see, you know, similar double hung windows and ganged units, but more of them. And then on the, so the first phase is what would include all that work on the first floor, and there are no, in the basement, it gets renovated. And then the first level of the back deck would be built. The second phase is the second and third floors, including the new dormer on the back, the new windows on the back, and again, the replacement windows on the other 3 walls. All the materials, and there are some options listed, they're listed on the drawing. And I would add, just because we're getting more information about the existing or the original front porch, for the columns, I had listed painted wood and permacast, which is the fiberglass column. And they have a lot of elements that have, I think, historic character to them, and when painted are very similar to wood columns, but they last much longer. I would also add trying to replicate the entire column in PVC by wrapping posts and adding the top cap and base trim. And that's all. Do you have any questions?
Just looking at the picture of the lodge, the historic picture, are there plans to return shutters to the building?
No.
Okay.
No, the final view on all 3 walls, except for the lake view wall, should be virtually unchanged. Actually, there is, I forgot to mention or note that on the east elevation, there is 1 additional window. It's called out in the drawing, a small double hung window. It's hard to see, it would be on that previous photo, but it's, yes, thank you, that one, right. But no, the exterior character in terms of the siding and the trim and the 1/1 windows with no shutters is what would be maintained.
On the east elevation, the door to the far left, is that a replacement or is that existing?
On the east elevation, there is no door on the east elevation.
Oh, I'm sorry. North elevation, I apologize.
The north, the one in the center on the lakeside?
No, to the far left, that small door.
Oh, no, that one doesn't change. It goes down to the
Okay.
basement.
Okay. And then the materials for the deck are all called out as you plan to build it. Tell me a little bit more about the fence. It's going to be a metal fence with the ring treatment on the top.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's actually already ordered because the owner didn't understand that that was something that required review. So that piece is underway. We're going to do a simpler version of it for the infill between the posts on the decking so that it will tie it together, although the ring pieces don't meet safety aspects of the code, so there will not be the rings at the top. It'll be a simpler metal ring design as shown on the drawing for the decking.
Does anybody have any questions for Sue? I just want to make sure I'm understanding the front porch, the Lake Street facing porch. So you plan to use potentially composite materials, but for the posts, but otherwise the ornamentation and the treatment of the columns or the posts will be reflect the original posts.
The original photo, not the way it's been
Right.
rebuilt here, because that has
Okay.
a clunky cap on
Yeah.
top. No, it's much more traditional. There's a cap piece and then there's a banding around below it, so.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're really gonna try to reestablish some of that?
Right, and depending on what material ends up being used, it will either match it, as exactly as possible, or if the permacast materials are used, they have a similar kind of base that's 3 inches high, and they have alternate options for the banding and the capital, and which is the one that is the most closest representation, but it will be significantly closer to the original than the existing is.
Okay. And is the porch roof being rebuilt, or is that, you're gonna be able to maintain that?
I think that we can maintain it and maintain all the trim around the beams. I think it's really just from the top of the post down that will be rebuilt. And if the porch roof will, I believe it's shingled, it'll be likely replaced because all the roofing will, or certainly the roofing on the lake side will be fully replaced because of the new dormer installation. And then the other sides, if they need to be replaced, will be replaced with shingles also.
And then underneath that front porch, it looks like some laid stone fell. Is that the plan as well?
No, it'll be a frame skirting underneath there. The preference is not to do lattice, but to do a kind of solid panel. We have to incorporate some venting into it depending upon which decking material is chosen. So it will either be a kind of flat panel with some, relief around it so that there's some ventilation, or possibly a frame around clapboarding. Right now it's clapboard without a full frame.
No, and I was looking at the original picture because it looked like it was stone.
It was, and that, I think when they replaced the foundation of the house, that came out. So it's not planned to be masonry work for any of the foundation work. It would be frame.
Okay. Pat, do you have any questions for Sue? No questions, Pat?
No,
I'm
I think
sorry.
it's very attractive.
Okay. Mark,
Looks good.
Dave,
No,
Roger?
Just a quick question. Sue, you changed the interior, not that we have to concern ourselves with it, but it was a 4 single is now been converted back to a single family home?
Right. It is. It depends on how you count. Right now, it's either 3 or 4 units. There are 3 rental units, and then there's a lot of
I
space
see.
not in those 3 rental units. That's really kind of, and it's highly
Wow.
unusual because it's a part of the first floor, the basement, and the 3rd floor are kind of the unapartmented portions of it. So the plan is to convert it back to single family, which would certainly be more compliance with our zoning law, because multifamily is not even a permitted use or a special permitted use in that zone. But they would like to maintain the 2 tenants on the 2nd floor until, through phase 1 until the beginning of phase 2.
Okay. Otherwise, the plans look good.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion if there are no other questions?
Sure, I can attempt this. We are at this point just approving phase one since phase two is 2 years out. Is that correct?
My hope is actually that if you could review it all and approve it all, and then I don't believe phase two will begin until after the 2-year expiration. But
Okay.
we
So
would
you
come back
come
for
back.
renewal. So, because it certainly would like to start phase one, knowing that the total project has been reviewed and approved.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see, regarding work to be done at 30 Lake Street, including replacement of windows, rebuilding the front porch, and adding railings and railing and fencing in the backyard, and construction of deck and reconfiguring windows on the back of the house. The Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board has made the following findings. No public hearing required. Requirements of SECRA met. The structure is listed. Proposed work meets the criteria under section 326E, 2A, 2B, 2C, 3A, 3C, 3D, and 5. Now therefore be it resolved.
All right, do we have a second?
Second,
Any discussion? Okay, let's vote yay.
Mark, yes.
David, yes.
Roger, yes.
And Ted, yes.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Night.
Liz, let's go back to 12 Lakeview Drive because they've now signed in.
Okay, great. So that's item number 7 on the agenda, folks. 12 Lakeview Drive. Diana? can
Hi,
you-
everybody.
I'm sorry.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, how are you? Can you tell us about your project, please?
Yes, so we're proposing a partial screen fence in the backyard of our property between ourselves and our adjacent neighbor. Really, this is just a privacy issue, the way the spaces lay out. We both kind of have backyard areas, right, kind of tight up next to each other and not a lot of space for other types of screening. So we think the screen fence would be the best solution in that location to give us both privacy. So the layout here that's drawn here is, you can see our house and the adjacent, these are actual surveys of each of our properties. And we're proposing a screen fence that would be 4 sections in length, approximately 32 feet. These would be 6-foot high sections. And we've kind of just done an overlay image to the right there. That's looking from our backyard towards the neighbor's house. And there's just an overlay here of approximately, what this screen fence would look like and its location. There's another image below there of the fence. It wouldn't be in the brown color. We're proposing a very light color that would blend in with the adjacent split rail fence that's adjacent to it. Just more of a natural color. And this is a type of fence that's got some slatting with some breaks in it to give it, again, a screen look. We have passed this information along to our neighbors, actually met with them last night to review it. They're open to the screening and just giving this some further consideration.
So how tall will the fence be? 6 feet high?
It would be 6 feet, yes. The current fence that's there, this is a couple of photos of again, looking from our yard to the adjacent yard, there's a split rail fence that's there now. The posts are about 42 inches in height. They've got a permanent fire pit in the backyard with some benches. So when both people, both ourselves and them, are out in the backyard, that's again the reason we're trying to just locate a screen fence there for privacy. And again, it's in the backyard. You can see the picture below. It would be beyond the tree that's on the neighboring property. So it's not anywhere near the front of the property. It would be running vertical along the property line. So it's also not affecting any views of the people behind us or in either location, because it's well below their viewing area.
And the fence you're proposing, tell us about that.
The fence product is it's a vinyl product that's designed to have a cedar look to it. It's got graining in it, and again, we're proposing a color that is very neutral to kind of blend in with the adjacent fencing. And what Jane's going through there now are just the specification sheets on it. So here's some of the colors that Jane's pointing at. We're probably looking at one of those colors in the middle, like a grayish or a grayish clay color. Again, the only picture we had to show the fence was only available in that brown color, but.
So is the fence kind of a matte product, or is it a shinier vinyl?
It's more of a matte finish, especially Liz, with the graining in it. We're looking for something that had kind of, again, a natural look to it rather than a smooth finish. And actually here in this brochure, you can see a little bit more of a grainy texture to it to give it a cedar look.
And you said four 8-foot sections.
Yes, yeah, they come in 8-foot sections, and there'd be 4 sections. So overall length would be 32 feet. And again, 6 feet high.
Does anybody have any questions? Pat?
I see in the picture, it looks as though there's a center support to the 8-foot section. Is that going to be part of your?
Yeah,
project?
there'll be 5 posts with it, and then 4 sections of fence.
There is a center intermediate.
But is there a support in the middle of each of the 4 sections?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
An 8-foot span in vinyl tends to sag a lot.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, there is a center support in the design of the section, but it's not an actual post that goes into ground. There is a center vertical component.
I wonder if you would consider having it go to ground, simply because it's there essentially to prevent sag, and you'll have like a curve.
Yeah, the top and the bottom rails are steel reinforced. I mean, this is the way the manufacturer makes it. So I don't foresee any sagging issues.
Yeah, you're correct.
Thanks, Pat.
Sure.
Okay. Mark, do you have any questions or comments?
Nope.
Dave?
No?
Roger?
No,
Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Whereas the Historic Architectural Review Board has made the following findings concerning 12 Lakeview Drive South. With regard to section 300-26E, 2B, C, 3, C, D. I think that should do it. Therefore, be it resolved.
Thank you very much. Does anybody want to second that?
Mark
Roger, yeah.
seconds.
Mark, Roger, take your pick, Michael. Okay, any discussion? All right. Liz votes yay.
Mark, yes.
David, yes.
Roger, yes.
Pat, yes.
Is it contributing or not contributing?
Non-contributing.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So thank you very much for your time and your patience with our questions. And we will, Jane will get you the materials to permit the fence. And thanks for your help tonight.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night. Thank you. All right, Jane. Is Emily on the
No,
call?
so we're going up to 58 Chestnut. is
Okay.
next.
So we're gonna jump up to item number 9 on the agenda, 58 Chestnut. Okay.
Is that
Who's
the field?
representing 58 Chestnut? Oh, Jackson, I see, I'm sorry. Go ahead and tell us about your project, Jackson.
Is that a field change?
Which one are you talking about?
58, not
No.
number 9. No?
No, it's not a field change. It's brand new.
So I'm proposing, I want to replace some existing overhead garage doors. The garage was constructed in the 1920s and the doors don't really close all the way. They're wood and they flip up, and the mechanism to open and close them is starting to sag, so the doors don't close all the way and they're kind of rusted. So I want to replace it with a steel stamped carriage style door with windows at the top and a cascade style. You can see the garage back there. So the door on the left doesn't close all the way, and there's a cat that has used it as its second home. So I want something that's a little more functional and looks a bit nicer, because these ones are a little raggedy at this point. So yeah.
Are you proposing replacing the 2 doors with 1 door or 2 doors?
2 doors.
Okay. And dimensionally, will each door have 4 bays or sections with 4 sections with windows?
I'm not exactly sure, because the one that's pictured there is a little bit more rectangular. Mine are square. I'm looking at the brochure and it looks like there will still be 4 bays. There's one. Let's see if I can hold it up. This is the same style. Let's see. And there's still 4 little sections there.
Okay, hold that up one more time. I'm not sure it's the same style. The windows are squared off a little differently. So
That's actually not part of that's above the garage door in this image.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see that at all. And that's also the stamped carriage style door. This just doesn't have any windows on it.
And you're proposing the style with the windows?
Yeah, that's correct.
Jackson, who's the manufacturer? I'm going to look to see if I can find that picture that I can share then.
Yeah, it's CHI overhead doors.
And it's a stamped metal overhead door?
Yeah, it's stamped steel.
I think the ones that are on that carriage shed may not be original, but they're pretty old, right?
Yeah, they yeah, they're really old and very heavy. I have a hard time opening them.
Pat, do you have any questions?
Did you ask me, Liz?
Yes. Do you have any questions?
No, but I did kind of favor the old doors.
I know.
Yeah.
If we could just make them lighter or get an assist with the mechanism.
Mm-hmm. I think the mechanism is just so old, and I don't know if when it was installed, they just hung it a little bit low, but it makes it so the door doesn't close all the way, it hits the ground.
Mhm.
Or the door just might be too big for the opening. I'm not sure.
No, it's just wishful thinking on my part.
Yeah.
I think, God bless you, Roger. I think looking just the simplicity of those doors is, I get that their function isn't ideal, but the simplicity is really appealing. Mark, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Dave?
No,
Roger?
No,
Okay. Jane, were you able to find an image?
Yeah, I'm just calling it up now. I believe I can't zoom in as easily because it's a thing, but I'm assuming that this is what you're looking at as far as, because there's the 3-door or the double door.
Mhm.
There's a single door.
Okay, so it's 2.
So that's what you're proposing, right, Jackson?
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell, it is a kind of funky little arch treatment on the windows.
Yes.
And I'm not set on having arched windows or anything in particular. I just thought those looked nice. I could do no windows or square windows as well. They offer those options.
Thank you for your flexibility. We try not to design for people.
Yeah.
That said, the square windows might be more appropriate.
Mhm.
Jane, you're looking for something else?
Yeah, just seeing if there's anything that might be a better option. I can't tell from these to see exactly what they.
Jane,
Probably
can you do
not.
Control Plus? It'll make it bigger.
I don't have a plus sign.
On the, next to your backspace sign?
Yeah, no, so it's Control Shift Plus.
Oh, okay. Oh, mine is just Control Plus.
How quickly are you trying to do this, Jackson?
There's no real set time. Hopefully just before the winter. So
Not a lot of garaging during the summer.
Yeah.
There's the shaker style.
There was one that said like carriage house, that went by real quick, the one in the gray here.
Which one are you looking at?
That one, yeah. But like I said, we really resist the urge to design for you. So, I understand your predicament, and we're not trying to replicate exactly what you have, but trying to get to something a little simpler and maybe less suburban. So I don't know if you're willing to maybe take a look at something that might be that might be a little more traditional, that might be a better choice in the long run for that very sweet little former carriage shed that is now your garage. So that would, if you're willing to kind of poke around and come back with 1 or 2 other options that you're happy with next month, if you're not in a huge rush, I would love to see a few more door samples you're willing to go with.
Okay.
So if that works for you.
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Jackson.
Yep.
All right, thanks. We'll see you next month, maybe.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. No 28 letters stacking yet, right,
No.
Jane?
Nope.
Okay, so, 43
See you
Lakes,
guys tomorrow, okay?
43 Lakes Street are next, correct?
Right, it's
Hello?
Charlotte Schneider. I can hear her, I just can't see her.
Stop. No, it says the video's on. That's so funny. Stop video. Hold on. Let's.
Hello?
Hi.
We can hear you, we can't see you.
Oh, the camera just keeps going on and off. I don't really know why,
Okay,
but I'm here.
okay. Tell us about your project.
It's just a little fence that's going from nearly at the back of the house to the barn that will be a view blocker between Beth Glynn and this house, since our driveway kind of looms over her house. And from what she tells me, she applied 2 years ago for a permit for the historical review for the exact same spot to put a fence. She just never did put it there. Oh, here, start my video. There we go. Maybe that'll help.
There you go.
Ooh.
Something. I don't know. It was working on this side before, but now we get this. Anyway, it's just a simple 4-foot fence that would be comparable to the one in front of the Crooked House next door here, but with more pickets than that, so that it's, you know, visually filled in a little bit. But that's what my mom, and I all agreed that we liked the idea of. And I left the color choice to them, and really I asked Beth what she would want, and there I am. Her desire was to have she said either like a neutral color or green, and then my mom said she would like green.
Okay, we don't
I'm
regulate
talking like, I
color.
see the picture here. I'm talking like almost all the way to the back of the house. There are a couple tree stumps on the left that you can't see, but she has hedges that she put in between there, and they've grown up to the height where they're not blocking anything anymore. Yeah, you got it. That's it.
Okay, so basically where the red line is where the fence.
Exactly, yes, very well done.
Okay. Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Would the new fence go to where the picket fence stops?
No, that's why she put the red line. It starts way back there, doesn't come up.
Goes to the tree, basically the forked tree, Roger?
Even further
Yeah.
back than that, actually.
Yeah.
Right, were you able to figure out exactly how far back? Because like I said,
Yeah,
your
I
application
wrote
said
down a little
25.
note, 45 feet.
Okay, so instead of 20, where I show it on this plan
Yeah.
here, hold on just a second. Oops, wrong. This was showing it at 25 feet back, so it's probably starting closer to here
Exactly.
and then going back.
I would just go straight to all the way to the back of the house, but as I explained, she has that little patio and she has company outside in the summer there, and you know, it would be nice for her sake to have it a little bit blocking that portion as well. So it's just a little ahead of the back of the house.
So a 45 feet approximately, correct?
Correct. I measured it today.
Okay, and the height is the same height as the existing fence?
Her fence is 3 feet. I measured that today too, and mine would be 4 feet.
with closer pickets,
Yes.
otherwise all wood
Mm-hmm. Green,
to be painted.
like a hunter green, like the one on the right side, really, that color. The one everyone has around here.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, Pat, you're okay?
Oh, I think it's very nice indeed.
Mark,
Good.
Dave,
Fine.
Roger,
Okay,
who would like to make a motion?
yeah, I will. Whereas the Historic Preservation Architectural Review Board has made the following findings of facts concerning the proposed application at 43 Lake Street. The proposal is for a fence 4 feet in height to extend along the property line between the adjacent neighbor. The following principles were considered to A, B, 3A, B, and D. Now therefore be resolved.
All right, thank you. Does anybody want to second that, please?
I'll second.
Thank you,
Mark.
Mark. Any discussion? Okay, Liz votes yay.
Mark, yes.
David, yes.
Roger, yes.
Pat, yes.
Thank you all very much. Okay, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you
Have
so
a-
much.
Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. All right, I guess we'll move on to number 11 on the agenda, right, Jane?
Yes,
Okay, so number 11 on the agenda is 10 Chestnut Street. And the first
Before we-
item
can we do one thing real quick before we do anything else, just so I don't forget it?
is to acknowledge the trustees.
As the lead agency, yes.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I didn't want to forget it either.
Yeah,
Okay, so thank you for, I'm glad we're both on the same page there. So the HPARB has to acknowledge that the trustees are the lead agency for seeker. May we have a vote on that? Liz votes yay.
David, yes.
Roger, yes.
Does somebody have to second it?
Okay,
I second.
thanks, Roger. Getting late already.
Liz, David. Okay, Pat, you?
Yes.
Okay, and we
Mark?
lost Mark, so we're gonna have to wait a second. We'll grab Mark.
we have a quorum, so we're okay.
Yeah, we have a quorum, but we'll let Mark vote when he gets back on the screen. Okay, Josh, would you like to tell us about the project?
Sure. And I'll be quick because I know you guys have been here for a while. We're seeking first a demolition permit for the existing structures at 10 Chestnut Street. There are 2 buildings. There is the one huge building that you see out front that was most commonly known as the A.G. Edwards building. And then there is a smaller structure. It's like a little house type of structure all the way in the back. I don't think these buildings are new to you guys. I think you guys have reviewed them for demolition a number of times. So if you have specific questions as to the structures, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I will kind of just let that stand. And then we'd like to replace the structures with a new building that you see the plans for. It is a multifamily building, and it is before the trustees for a special use permit. The idea with the building was to create a building that looked more like a house from the street and not so much like a townhouses or something like that. And so the entire structure is designed with that in mind, trying to mimic the architecture and not be completely overpowering from a street view. In terms of setbacks, we looked at the various other, Jane, do you have the plans?
Which one do you want, the site plan or the overall?
We can start with this. You can start with the front page.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you. And so this is what the building will look like. We're still working through colors, but in terms of the aesthetics, this is what it looks like. In terms of setback, we've looked at the other houses on the street. You've got two next door that are sitting right on the sidewalk, and then you've got another house, the Kingsley's house next door. Yep, down here, and then the inn at Cooperstown farther over, which shares a similar setback. And so we've kind of looked for somewhere, one, to set it far enough back that it doesn't overpower the two small houses next door. But also we didn't have the space to set it all the way back, even with the Kingsley's house. And so it's a bit of an average of the other houses on the street. This is the site plan here. And so the new building is going to be considerably narrower than the current building that sits there. The current building touches pretty much both property lines. And this building will have a 10-foot setback on each side, which sort of narrows it up and gives it a less imposing presence. Jane, if you want to go on to the next page. These are the interior layouts, which will probably give you a little bit of insight as to the window locations and how the building is laid out. The next page is the elevations, I believe. So here's sort of a close-up of the front elevation. All the trim is paintable. We've been working through whether it's going to be a painted PVC or whether it will be like Boral, which is another composite. The siding, right now we're looking at LP Smart side, but it'll be sort of a composite painted product, whether it's LP or whether it's James Hardie cement board, something like that. The front roof on the porch is a little standing seam roof. The rest of the roof on the building is architectural asphalt shingles. The windows are aluminum clad simulated divided light, 2/2. They are tilt and turn windows, so they don't operate as double hungs, but they have a similar appearance. The building is set up so that we've got a couple stairs going up to it, but at the same time, we're trying to keep the building ADA compliant. And so both of the back entrances are completely handicap accessible. And we can manage that so long as we don't raise the front of the building too much. And so the goal was to give it enough of a presence so that it has a conventional porch with a little bit of lattice work underneath, but not so much that the back of the building needs a lot of ramps and whatnot. And if Jane, if you want to go to the next. These are the two side elevations, and these elevations are mostly hidden from the street view. The top elevation is the north side, which is going to be seen similar to what you can see now. And right now you really can't see it because you've got trees up front and then the garage from the house next door. We will have all the mechanicals on that side of the building. There's a number of little heat pumps, which you can see drawn in there. And so there will be a 4-foot privacy fence towards the front of the building just to block the view of those from the street right there. Perfect. And then on the lower elevation, what you're looking at is the south side of the building. The front block, which is the right-hand block there, is mostly hidden by the Kingsley house, which is the green house between this building and the inn. And then the village lane runs back along it. And so the left-hand block will be accessed from the village lane in the back of the building. And so the idea was to try to hide some of the mass of the building, kind of with the other buildings and trees and whatnot. And then I think the next photo, there's one more. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see the back of the building. The village lane climbs as it goes toward the back of the property. And so we were using that to our advantage to create handicap access to the second story of the building. And it also makes the back of the building less imposing. So that's kind of the gist of the project. And so I would be happy to entertain questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Josh?
Josh, are you, it appears to me that you're sort of gussying up a facade on what is essentially an apartment building. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. It is a multifamily building. So there's 13 units, but it's designed to blend in as well as we can with the village.
Do you have enough?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Have you presented this to the planning board?
I believe I
Next
see the planning
week.
board next week.
So in terms of parking spaces for the occupants, what
There,
traffic flow patterns and all the other stuff, I know, not that that's sort of, I guess, the purview of the planning board, not our concern.
yeah, Jane, if you'd like to go to the next page.
Yep.
That shows the site plan. So we have 21 parking spots, which is what the village requires. They require one per bedroom, and we have 21. We've also added a 2-lane egress lane through to Pine Boulevard, because the village lane, which they own, the village owns a 1-lane to Chestnut Street, and they also own this public lane in the middle between the Pine Boulevard property and the Chestnut Street property. But in order to make sure that we have adequate traffic flow and that we don't in any way impact the inn or any of the other properties that use the village lane, we've added a 2-lane through to Pine Boulevard to lessen some of the traffic flow. As well as, Chestnut Street is a busier street. And so with traffic and the traffic light, we didn't want to add too much traffic there.
Josh, I don't know if the trustees have asked you for this, but I would be really interested in a pretty realistic streetscape view of how things are gonna look specifically from Chestnut Street if possible.
Okay. Jane, if you go to the first photo, what are you looking for?
I
Are you
really
looking
want
for
to
more
see
or farther away?
dimensionally in relation to the other buildings.
Okay,
I know we have a little bit of time because we do have to plan on a public hearing. I don't know how quickly you're hoping to get the project underway after the public hearing with if a demolition is approved, but if we could get a sense of how this looks compared to the buildings around it, that would be really helpful to me.
sure. That's no problem.
Thank you.
And as I understand it, Josh, the seeker will be controlled by the trustees, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, because the soil may be contaminated from the previous owner.
There have been a number of soil explorations and DEC investigations into this property. And the last I've heard, they've all been closed. And so I've taken a look at all those reports. And so, so yes, at times in the past, there were underground tanks that were buried for the building. Those were removed in 1987. And then in the mid 2000s, I think around 2005, 2006, they had a bit of soil sampling done. The DEC opened an investigation into those tanks, and it since has closed it.
Good.
So, yes.
Good.
Pat, do you have any other questions for Josh?
No, not at the present.
Okay. Mark, how about you?
No, I don't.
Dave?
No, looks good to me.
And Josh, it sounds like you're planning on using a lot of new technology in terms of the sustainability of the building. You said heat pumps and solar panels.
Yeah, the building is targeted to be a certified passive house in what's called the Source Zero program, which means that while it is a certified passive house, it will also be net zero. And so one of the photos showed the solar panels on the roof. Right now, it's unknown whether we'll need as many as are drawn. We're waiting for the energy model to come back this week. But the first page of the plans, that shows the building with the solar panels on it from the street, and you can't see any of them. So.
Okay, well, it's an exciting model. I do really want to just get a better sense of how it looks in the context of the buildings that surround it, specifically on Chestnut Street.
Sure.
That would be really helpful. Does anybody else have any requests for Josh? We do have to set a public hearing for the next meeting in June. Jane, I want to say that meeting date is the 15th. Off the top of my head, I'm guessing at that, but
It will be the 15th, correct? No, wait, it's the
No, it's
8th.
the 8th. It's the,
oh,
you'd be at the wrong meeting, Liz.
I would be. Sounded a little late. Okay, great. So I guess June does start on the 1st. I forgot about that. So Josh, thank you for presenting this. If nobody else has any requests for Josh, we will hold a public hearing on June 8th regarding the demolition of the current structures on that property. And if you have anything else to present to us at that point, we can move forward with review.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much. Have a great night, Josh. Thanks for being so patient tonight.
Thank you, Josh.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. I think I'm actually next to them though.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you're next.
Yeah.
He's next too.
Oh, you're sticking around, huh? Okay, Josh. We'll move
Wait,
on.
Liz, can I ask one question though?
Yep.
Before we get off this, other than the 3D streetscape, is there anything that you want to go back to the trustees as far as issues with the special use permit?
Has anybody have anything else that they would consider an issue for the special use permit?
No,
I'm not thinking of anything, Jane.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to
And-
make sure.
Mark? Dave?
no,
Okay. Thank you, Josh. Now we'll talk about 39 Chestnut Street. Put your other hat on.
Okay, so 39 Chestnut Street, we are looking to replace a number of windows on the house with Marvin Elevate new construction double hung windows. We did some work there a couple years ago, and we replaced the windows in the back of the house. The windows that are currently there on the front of the house, so we're looking to replace 17 windows on the front and the two sides. The windows that are currently there are not original. They were a sash replacement kit. I don't know when they were done, but they just they don't work. And so we'd like to replace them with new construction units. The idea with new construction units is we can make them look as if they were more intended, as opposed to sort of shrinking the rough openings, continuous steps.
So the new constructions does that for you better than a replacement window to
Yeah,
fit?
the existing openings are extremely out of square. Like the bottom sill will be 1.5 inches lower on one side than the other. And it's just at that point in time, there's not a lot to work with. And so you end up with a much better finished product if you do a new construction window. The trim on the outside of the house isn't like I think it's just a clad aluminum or whatnot. And so there's really no, if you have really nice, exquisite wood trim on the outside, sometimes it makes sense to do a replacement unit. But if you have different trim, then a new construction is just a better option.
And the assumption is you're going to leave the existing trim in place and work with it, correct?
We'll be replacing it.
Okay. That's a great answer, right? Does anybody have any questions for Josh?
oh,
So 1/1, Josh?
Yeah, they're 1/1 now, and so we're just gonna do 1/1 again.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion?
This is my turn.
Okay. All yours, Dave.
All right. Okay, whereas this,
I said you guys are so amicable.
Historic Preservation Architectural Review Board has made the following findings concerning 39 Chestnut Street for replacement of the remaining windows with new construction windows. According to section 326E, 2A, B, C, and 3A, B, C, and D, and 5, I would assume.
Hey, Dave, thank you. Do we have a second?
Mark
Second.
seconds.
Who
Take
we
your
got?
pick. Mark or Roger?
Yeah, Mark.
Mark,
Liz, Sue, Jane,
yeah,
who'd you pick?
Mark,
Okay, that's who I picked too for this one, because I got Roger last time. Okay,
Like rock, paper, scissors. Okay, any discussion? All right, Liz votes yes.
Mark, yes.
Roger,
David,
yes.
David,
Yes,
Roger, yes.
I got you, Roger.
Pat, yes.
Okay. You get stuck it. There we go, thank you.
Thank you, awesome. All right, thanks, Josh.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Too. Okay, next item is number 13, 71 Ferris Street. Nicole, I know you've been waiting patiently the entire meeting. Thank you.
It's all right.
Okay.
So
Hopefully-
what we are proposing to do is building a backyard garden shed, just to store all of our garden tools and lawnmower and snow blower out of the public eye. So it is just a little salt box. It was designed by my stepfather-in-law, who's an architect for the state of Vermont, and he's planning on helping us build it. It is 10 feet wide, 8 feet deep, 10 foot high. It would be constructed with materials to match the house. So wood clapboard, asphalt shingles, architectural shingles, and the Marvin integrity windows. And then let's see, a sliding door on the front. Yeah, so whatever questions you guys have.
I say we approve it.
Does anybody have any questions?
Nicole, where are you gonna put it? At the far back?
Second, sight unseen.
Okay,
Where
so
will-
it's actually going to be kind of back behind the driveway, on the side of the house towards the Connollys.
Oh, okay. It's not gonna be as far back as the basketball.
No, it would be in between the basketball court and
Yeah.
the driveway.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
I do, just how tall did you say it was again?
It was going to be 10 feet.
10 feet tall too, 10 feet wide, 8 feet deep, 10 feet tall, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Looks nice.
Right here, right? in the paper.
And, okay, does anybody want to make a motion?
Sure, I will. Whereas the Historic Preservation Architectural Review Board has made the following findings of facts concerning the proposed application at 71 Ferris Street. That consists of a proposed garden shed, 10 feet by 8 feet by 10 feet tall as submitted. The considerations of appropriateness are 2A, B, and C, 3A, B, and C, and D. Now therefore be resolved.
Thank you, Roger. Would anybody like to second that? Wonderful. Thank you, David. Okay, any discussion? Liz votes yay.
Mark, yes.
David, yes.
Roger, yes.
Pat, yes.
Thank you all. Thank you for waiting, Nicole.
Oh, no, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Have a
your
good
garden
evening.
shed.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Jane, I'm assuming we're moving on to number 14, 24 Delaware Street.
Yes, he is on, so.
Hi, Patrick. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, would you like to tell us about your project?
Sure. So we just came to town last December. I think we closed on the house, and we haven't been able to do anything outside because of the winter, obviously. But now that it's getting warm, we're really trying to do our backyard up and do some gardening and stuff like that. Our fence in the backyard, it's 3 parts. On the left side of our house is a chain link fence that then meets a garage of some sort that's backs up to our property line. I'm not really sure who owns it or anything. That garage is acting as a barrier in our yard. And then the back of our yard is a wooden fence that is a short picket fence that is as you can see in the picture, I mean, there are numerous areas falling apart. There's rusty nails, rusty screws everywhere. My dog escaped recently to the neighbor's yard. Their pets have gotten into mine. Basically what we're proposing is a new fence that goes, that's the building I was referring to. A new fence that goes all the way around the left side and the back of my yard, because the right side is my garage, so there's no need for a fence over there. That gate that you see the arrow pointing to, it's going to stay there. I don't have to replace that because it's just in between the deck and the garage. But what we're proposing is a fence all the way around the left and the back side. What we're proposing is a taller, probably a 6-foot fence that is more of a panel fence, either cedar or pine, not painted, just pressure treated, something like that. That was actually an Airbnb I stayed in a couple weeks ago, and I liked their fence, so I took a picture of it for you guys to view. So there's just a couple options of wooden fences that we would like to do. I've already spoken to the neighbors and gotten their verbal consent, which I know for a taller fence, I know you guys need actual signatures, but I've spoken to them about the fence already, and they think it's a great idea, especially the ones on the back fence. I've met him. It's I don't know if you know him, but Dr. Mangalamurti. He's a cardiologist that used to work at Bassett. He said absolutely on that back fence, his kids play in that yard and mess with the fence a lot. And like I said, there's a lot of rusty nails and stuff that it's honestly a danger, I would say, to his kids. So he's definitely on board for replacing it. But that's about it. I mean, we're just proposing the fence along the left and the right, the left and the back of the fence.
So Jane, they're proposing 6 foot high, so it needs to go to who other than us?
Well, as long as I have written permission from all the adjacent neighbors, at that point, it doesn't need to go through anybody. If a neighbor refuses to give permission, he is still allowed to ask for a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. So you can basically approve a 6-foot fence if you're happy with that, contingent upon approval or a variance. So, I mean, otherwise it's, he's allowed to go 4 foot no matter what if you give any kind of approval. And then anything above that is the written permission or a variance.
So is the white garage the one you don't know who it belongs to?
Oh, I looked at I've got my
The
tax.
white garage is Swatling.
Swaddlings. That's what I assumed.
I
We
don't,
all know who it belongs to.
I don't know who that is. I'm sorry.
He actually owns the blue house. He owns the corner house also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're separate parcels, but he owns both of them.
My idea was to go along the back of that garage, and I would obviously leave whatever. I don't know what you have to have in between the back of the garage and the fence. I'm assuming it's probably 2 feet or something, but in order for him to access the back of his garage, I would leave that much room. I think it's silly to have their garage that's not on my property act as my property line, and it's honest. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude. It's an eyesore and it's in my backyard. And I was thinking if I could do the fence all the way along, that would be ideal.
So do you know where you do have an accurate understanding where the property line is? So it goes right up to the garage. Is that what you're saying?
So Jane, if you could go back to the picture of the garage with the chain link fence.
Oh, hold on, wrong one. Takes a while to get up.
That's okay.
So the chain link fence is the property line?
Right. So this chain link fence,
So if you extended it, it would be the property line.
Yes, would be the property line on our side. So there's if we went with the existing property line where the chain link fence is, there's about 1.5 feet between, if we continued that fence, between the new fence and the garage.
So the chain link fence is yours or the neighbors?
It's ours. So if you go to the previous picture, the chain link fence actually connects to our house on the left with the gate. So the chain link fence comes from our house and then runs along our property line.
And you're going to be removing the chain link to put the other fence in.
The whole thing will be removed with a new fence and a new gate where the current gate is at the end of that picture. And then run all the way along what you're seeing there to meet the white picket fence will then also be replaced. And like those are holes under there where our animals have gotten to and from. I've had to like blockade that.
So of the fences you have given us images of, which is your preferred?
I mean, when I was speaking with Jane on the phone, I think the one that was going to be my first option would be that one that's listed as option 1, just because it's got the finished part in the neighbor's yard. So we would have an unfinished side on our part just to be more economical financially. That would be better for us at this moment. To have obviously it's to have an unfinished side, and then maybe in the future come in with the paneling on our side too to make it look better for our own backyard. But it would currently be finished on the other side for the neighbors and to have their yards look better. And ignore, like I said, this is at an Airbnb, so ignore those houses back there. That doesn't have anything to do with Cooperstown or anything.
Does anybody have any other questions for Patrick? So you will need to get permission, including from Michael Swaddling, since he is one of your neighbors on that rental property. If that is the fence you're proposing, that wooden fence, we can make a motion based on that if people are comfortable, but if that is not the fence you end up choosing to install, you'll need to come back for a field change.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion regarding construction of a fence at 24 Delaware Street, whereas the Historic Preservation and Architectural Review Board has made the following findings. No public hearing required, requirements of secret met, the structure is contributing. The proposed work meets the criteria under section 326E. 2C, 3A, 3B, 3C, contingent upon permission of neighbors or a variance to construct a 6-foot fence, approving option A and requiring the field change if a different type of fencing is decided on. Now therefore be it resolved.
Do I have a second? Roger is seconding with a hand motion?
Yep, second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay. Liz votes yay?
Mark, yes?
David, yes.
Roger, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And just remember, Patrick, to come back if the configuration of the fence changes at all.
Okay, thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
Emily isn't here, but I can run by it real quick if you want to just look at it.
Sure.
As for that one, because let me just call it up.
When is this?
We're going to do 28 Leatherstocking Street. And just to let you know, this will have a, it's going for a variance right now, so it's contingent on approval by an area variance. But what she's hoping to do is very simple. Right now, this main part is a 2-story house. Right now, there's a 1-story addition that is just sitting in this amount of space here. She's proposing to just extend it over to make it flush out with the rest of the house. So as far as examples, here's the corner existing now. She just wants to slide this over. It's still going to stay 1 story. It's still going to look exactly like that. And she actually created a little drawing that basically shows what it's going to look like. So that's the extent of the what she's asking to do. I mean, if you guys feel there isn't enough information, she can't do anything till next month anyway, but I just figured I might as well just show it to you now. If you don't have any objections to it, it gets it done with.
Are you saying she's building it out 4 feet, Jane?
Yes. So as I said, it's just, all she wanted to do is extend it so that it flushes out with the rest of the house.
No change in the windows on the back.
No, I'm assuming they're just going to extend that window. There's an existing window on this side. They were just going to pull it over.
Yep.
And the same with the siding.
Correct. Everything's going to just match. So it'll just look like this, only reverse, opposite side.
That's a long run for a short leap.
It is. It is. And, it's the rear of the house. It's a tight space. It's a muddled lot. It's, it's a pick or battle situation, but, I just, Roger may have the same recollection. I'm thinking of one of the state Preservation Board trainings we went to where, you know, one of the cardinal rules is don't like make it flush with existing. They'd want to see that delineation. They're not, you know, I'm willing to pick my battles with this one. But yeah, it is a long run for a short leap. They're just going to gain so little and do a lot of work for it. But that's a battle I'm not fighting. Anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that was off the record, my
Yeah,
comment.
Michael.
Okay, okay. It was on the record. And it kind of is because you're recorded.
But it's tricky, but I think we have other properties that where it's more appropriate to really worry about. This is
I
a
agree.
small space. Okay, Pat, do you have any comments?
No, I sort of agree with Roger.
Yeah. Okay, Mark.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Jane, just ask her to come back if there are additional field changes. I'd be surprised if they can recycle that window and match that siding. So if she needs to run anything else by us, to let us know.
Okay. So is there going to be a motion then to approve it or not?
Somebody want to make a motion?
I don't think we have enough information to know exactly what she's doing.
Okay, that's fine. I'll tell her to come back next month.
Good.
Thank you, Dave. And in the meantime, she may have her feedback from zoning, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. Sounds like a good plan to me. Thank you all very much. We just have to vote on the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to review them?
Yeah, they were
Liz, I
good.
gotta go. I wasn't here to vote anyway, so.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye, Dave.
I did notice my name was in there and I wasn't here, so I obviously didn't vote on one of the topics.
We'll get rid of it. Thank you.
All righty.
Okay,
Good night.
good night. Michael, I don't have a set in front of me, but do you want to do a quick search to figure out where Dave is voting when he shouldn't have been?
I will.
It's
but I
towards
think-
the end, Michael.
Okay, towards.
Thank you. And then we can figure out who might have actually voted on that. Before we vote on the minutes, we should correct them.
No, usually I correct them afterwards. It's just voting with the correction.
Okay.
Yeah, you just tell me then it's vote as corrected, then when I submit them there.
Yeah, we'll have to determine who might have seconded or voted. That was my concern.
Oh,
Yeah, I make a motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
well, with David's correction. I think he just, hold on.
Just voted, not motioned or
I think
You had
that's
him
what he
down
said.
for the 37 Walnut Street.
as a voter, not a motioner. Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure he wasn't listed as somebody who made the motion to do something or seconded.
Nope, he's just listed as voting in the
Thank you.
37 Walnut.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I think Jesse probably voted, and
It could be.
she was on the prior property, so I guess it's just swap David out for Jesse.
Yeah, I think that line of people just, because it's Brian Alexander too, so it was just one that was copied from a old set of minutes as far as the list of names. So
That's-
you also have to remove
that.
Brian's name.
Okay.
Yep.
Remove Brian and remove David and put
And-
in Jesse
And Pat,
and Pat.
Pat.
David and everything else is right.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yep. So I'll second the minutes as corrected.
Thank you. Thanks for catching that too, Mark. Great. All in favor of Liz votes yay?
Yay,
Mark, yes.
Roger.
Yay.
Thank you all very much for hanging in there tonight.
Wait, who seconded the minutes?
Mark,
Okay, Mark.
Well, Jane, this might be our last meeting with you, depending on whether they had a successful search. I don't know if everybody has heard that Jane has tendered her resignation, has taken on another job. So I would like to thank you for everything you've done to support everything we muddle through every month
No problem.
and your patience.
yeah,
I'm sure I'll be here
congratulations,
next month.
Jane.
Thanks.
Yeah, well-deserved rest.
Absolutely.
You will
I'm
be.
sure I'll be here next month too.
Uh-oh. You don't sound very happy about it.
No, I just can't. Well, I mean, if nothing else, it's just to help train whoever they hire. So,
Right, right.
Well, do
Well,
it,
thank
do it,
you.
do it right, Jane, because you were good at it.
thank you.
Yep. You know
kept
us,
it-
we need somebody
You
to
kept us
make
out
us
of-
look good.
you kept us out of trouble.
Right.
Tried.
Thank you. Well, and I hope everybody stays well until, oh my gosh, June.
I know, I can't believe.
Yeah, see you
Yeah.
then.